Hi, I'm JP Sears. I'd like to talk with you today about how to honor yourself. What does it mean to honor yourself? My experience is it means we respect the uniqueness of who we are. We respect what wants to live through us, and we allow it. If we can honor ourselves, we're saying yes to who we are. Yes, I have permission to be me. I have permission to learn more about who I am and allow life to express itself through me that's different than anybody else who's ever lived, is living, or ever will live. If we don't know how to honor ourselves, then my experience is we live in a relationship of betrayal to ourselves. We discount who we are. We discount what wants to live through us. Is there any more significant wound in this life than betraying ourselves? My intention today is to invite you into some realizations of how we can move beyond a conscious and unconscious relationship of betrayal to who we are. So, I'd like to invite you to consider how you can move from a relationship of conscious and unconscious betrayal of yourself to a more mature, meaningful relationship where you're honoring you. If you don't honor yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. There's a beautiful author named James Hollis, and for me, he has a very provocative thought. He suggests that it's very costly for you to be who you are, yet it's even more costly for you not to be who you are. We grow up in an environment where we're typically rewarded for dishonoring ourselves. And we're typically receiving approval when we fit into mom and dad's value system. When we do things that make them happy, we're approved. When we do things that don't make them happy, we're disapproved of. So we're never taught validation when we're in a place of honoring ourselves. We're taught validation and approval when we're honoring other people. So could I challenge you to consider these strategies on honoring yourself? Now keep in mind, these are strategies that seem to be meaningful to me through my delusional perspective. They seem to work very well for the clients and workshop participants that I work with. So I'd ask you to entertain them, but by all means, throw away the strategies that don't work for you. Strategy number one, and I just clap my hands, so this better be good. Strategy number one is know that who you are is much more than who you think you are. You are far more than the stories that you've made up to describe who you are. I'd ask you to sit there in the strategy number one where you consider you are not your story. You are not your story of who you think you are. So if you consider everything that you believe about yourself, what if it's nothing but an illusion that part of you has bought into so that you could seek and obtain approval from other people when you were a small child? The second strategy that I'd ask you to bounce around with is giving yourself permission to feel how you actually feel. When we disconnect from our feelings, we actually also have to disconnect from the part of us that has those feelings. Why would we do that? Lots of us learn how not to feel our feelings so that we don't expose things, so that we don't expose scary things that might make other people disturbed. Just today I was working with a workshop participant, certainly leave him anonymous, who was telling me a time in his childhood he had a very near and dear friend of his unfortunately pass away tragically. He didn't grieve the loss of his friend, and we're talking about a small boy. Why didn't he grieve the loss of his friend? He didn't want to let his upsetting, sad, grieving, fearful emotions come out because he didn't want his parents to suffer over his suffering. Is this an unconscious process for this person? Absolutely. He was a very young child. He had no consciousness of, oh, I'm going to repress these feelings about my friends passing away to protect mom and dad from my scary feelings. No, it was an unconscious process. But as he's coming to a new awakening in his adult life, he's stepping into a place of honoring himself by honoring his feelings. If you can connect with your authentic emotions, that is a significant bow of humbleness and honor to you. A third consideration is for you and I to reclaim our personal authority. Personal authority is giving yourself permission to live by your values and risk losing other people's approval. When you step into a place where you're willing to live by your values, it means first off you have to discover what your values are, which sort of implies that we've got to grow above and beyond the values from our childhood that we're either compliant with today or defiant with today. Either way, we're in the gravitational orbit of those values that aren't necessarily authored by our authentic individuality. So we've got to go on a vision quest to find our values. Risk losing other people's approval. For us to be who we are, for us to see the world, feel about the world, think, act, and talk in a way that's authentic to us. We're never going to allow that to happen. It's going to be constipated if we're putting other people's approval on a pedestal. The fourth consideration on how to honor yourself is, what if you gave yourself permission to be needy? The N-word. You are needy. I am needy. I'm angry at myself for even saying that I'm needy. That almost sounds like an insult. I'd invite you to go up to somebody and just look them in the eye and say, "You're needy." They'll probably take it as an insult. That's how much we dishonor our neediness and therefore dishonor ourselves. So if we don't allow ourselves to be needy, guess what? We get frozen in a block of neediness because now we have the need to not be needy, which means we live the illusion that we're not needy when in fact we're so needy we don't even see our neediness, that we need to not be needy. So our life is dictated by unabashed, bleeding neediness that we don't even see the wound where it's oozing out of. So how can you be needy? It's a good question. What are your physical needs? Your need for touch, your need for food, your need for air, your need for playtime, your need for educational time, your sexual needs. What are your emotional needs? And here we're not asking you to be perfect. That's a pretty tall expectation. We're asking you to be human. So you're allowed to have emotional needs if you give yourself permission. In closing, I'd like to ask you to entertain this little bit of a mantra. Consider saying words something like, today it's safe for me to be me. It's safe for me to be needy. It's safe for me to feel how I feel. And I give myself permission to be me and to feel how I feel. There will be some people who get angry at me. There will be some people who disapprove of me when I'm being who I am. And that's okay. I'll give them permission to be them while I give me permission to be me. Our paths will intersect when it's appropriate, and we'll live independently when that's appropriate. With that said, thank you so much for considering some of these insights on how you can move into a more intimate relationship of honoring you. If you like this video, feel free to honor the video by clicking like below or the thumbs up. And feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll look forward to talking with you next time.